Welcome back to this already the final segment of today's Price of Business, and I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. And you know what? It's interesting. This story I saw on Fox News this week caught my attention. The federal government can tell you how many native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islanders stole a car, the precise number of American Indian or Alaska natives who were arrested for vagrancy, or how many whites were busted for counterfeiting in any given year. But the government agencies that crunch crime numbers are utterly unable or unwilling to pinpoint for the public how many illegal immigrants are arrested within U.S. borders each year. And in the absence of comprehensive data, Fox News examined a patchwork of local, state, and federal statistics that revealed a wildly disproportionate number of murderers, rapists, and drug dealers that are crossing into the U.S. amid the wave of hard-working families seeking a better life. The explosive figures show illegal immigrants are 3 times as likely to be convicted of murder as members of the general population. 3 times. And account for far more crimes than their 3 to 5% share of the U.S. population would suggest. Critics say it is no accident that local, state, and federal governments go to great lengths to keep the data under wraps. There probably would be, I would say this, but Americans aren't Americans anymore. At some point in history, Americans would have rioted in the streets to know that this was happening in their neighborhoods. Now we suspend the Bill of Rights.
No. They'll still riot in the streets.
But not over things like this.
But you know what it's going to be? It's going to be the illegal immigrants rioting in the streets saying, how dare you, castigate us in such a way as to say that we're. I mean, look what they did to Trump. You've seen all sorts of backlash against his comments, which, by the way, are backed up by this. And for what? How many weeks did we hear that there was no data to back up his claim? The data suggests otherwise. Well, there was no data, and now we are seeing data. But there's probably a reason why.
Yeah. There are approximately 2.1 million legal or illegal immigrants with criminal convictions living free or behind bars in the U.S., according to ICE. Secure Communities Office. Each year, about 900,000 legal and illegal immigrants are arrested. 700,000 are released from jail and prison or probation. ICE estimates that there are more than 1.2 million criminal aliens at large. At large. That means they're not in prison in the United States. I'm telling you, man, this is the kind of stuff,
they're all
you're
criminals.
Going to hear this tonight.
They're all criminals.
I mean, you're going to hear this more and more by guys like Trump, as they beat the drum.
But they're all criminals. I mean, that's the ironic,
that's true.
That's the ironic thing about even the reporting on Fox. There's 1.2 million. No, every one of them is a criminal.
They broke laws to get here, and that's a good point. And the
or
reality
they
is
overstayed
that
their visa, whichever, but they're still here illegally.
It is easier to break laws once you break laws. You
Right,
know what I'm saying?
right.
And so really what ends up being, happening is that they create a culture of lawlessness by kind of having a blind eye towards people that broke the law in order to get here, but they're not breaking any other laws. And it's like, yeah, it's only a question of time because of the fact that they did this. And I say that as someone extremely sympathetic because I think the vast majority of those who left Mexico are among the more ambitious. The ones, who had more
Or the
energy.
ones who came, even more so, the ones who came from El Salvador, Guatemala,
the further south,
Honduras.
the more ambition they had.
Yeah.
They're more, like the people, frankly, who came around the world to find opportunity in the United States of America.
Right.
I like what Ben Carson said recently, though. If you want to end this, if you want to end the attraction of the ones we don't want, cut off all welfare to any of them.
Right.
Period. Just
Right.
cut it off. And you're only going to get people who really are pursuing the American dream, as the textbooks used to talk about, not this bizarre entitlement world that they seem to be pursuing now.
When you have such a wide safety net, they want to call it a safety net, when it's cast so wide, it's going to pull in a lot of, I hate to say it, but garbage along with what you're actually hoping to get.
Yeah.
And the problem is right now, and I'm pro-immigration. I'm not saying that we should be isolationist and or bigoted and racist and only white Anglo European type should be here. That's bizarre, and it's frankly insulting that we frame it in such a way that either you let everybody in, or if you are you're not for immigration if you want to kick the illegals out.
Right.
I'm sorry, there's a middle ground, kind of like with the Iran deal, Well, if you don't go for this Iran deal, you must want more with Iran. No, there's a middle ground there. And so when it comes to immigration, there is a middle ground. People used to follow the law. They used to do what they need. Now, it's broken. The system is broken. It needs to be fixed. It takes way too long for people to get citizenship. It takes way too long for people to get legal status. And so we do need to fix that. I don't know if Trump's the guy, but at least he's the one banging the drum saying, hey, we have a problem here, people.
By the way, the article from Fox News, Crime Wave, Elusive Data Shows Frightening Toll Illegal Immigrant Criminals, quotes a Texas Department of Public Safety study that revealed that showed that between 2008 to 2014, non-citizens in Texas, a group that includes illegal and legal immigrants, committed 611,000 plus crimes, including almost 3,000 homicides.
Yeah.
In that short of a time frame.
And what was the time frame?
2008 to 2014. That's
so
an extraordinary number.
In 6 years, 3,000 homicides could have been avoided had these people not been here.
Correct.
That's 3,000 lives. Now, we don't know if they're all American citizens' lives that were taken. They may have also been other illegals, but you know what? Yeah. It doesn't matter.
More often than not, it's the latter. Because they have this culture of insulation and they don't report crimes because they're afraid that they'll get in trouble themselves.
Well, I don't know. I think that's lessened because now
amnesty city, or what do they call them? Amnesty cities? Yeah.
Well, sanctuary cities.
Sanctuary cities.
But here's the bizarre thing is that the people who are out that I was talking about, who would probably be rioting in the streets, are proudly waving a flag from their nation, and they're saying, "I'm here illegally." Why aren't those people being rounded up? Why aren't those people being questioned about their status, and why aren't they being prosecuted for being here illegally? Why are we turning a blind eye? Why is our federal government not enforcing its own laws?
Yeah,
it is.
Those seem like gimmies, don't they?
It is absurd. If you've got a bunch of people saying, "I'm here illegally," take them at their word, please, and bring them in for questioning, and then process them the way that it's supposed to be done. Deport them. Do whatever the law requires of you.
Yeah.
Follow the law.
Those are no-brainers.
Why are you expecting me or Kevin to follow the law when you're not even following the law?
Exactly.
And it's mind-boggling, and it's very disheartening because as a nation, we're allowing this to happen. We're castigating American citizens who are saying, this isn't right. We don't want people here illegally. We want them to follow the rules. And we're trying to shut them down instead of shutting down the criminals.
Yep. In Florida, there were over 5,000 illegal immigrant inmates in state prison facilities as of June 30th. They cost. I used to do research. I did research on Jeb Bush's first gubernatorial campaign, and back then the cost per prisoner was somewhere near $60,000 a year.
Right. And it's way higher
now. Put that times 5,000. That is a cost that the American people are bearing because these guys had no business being here in the first place. That crime they perpetrated would have been perpetrated back wherever they came from.
Yeah, and what's amazing is that we spend billions and billions of dollars on public services for these particular people. We spend billions of dollars. Kevin, we spend billions of dollars just on having forms in native languages that, again, it makes no sense. I mean, I hate to say it, but Michael Savage is kind of right when he says borders, language, culture. Borders, language, culture. We all need to have very definite borders. If we're going to be a sovereign nation, we need to all share a common language, especially when it comes to governmental documentation. And we all need to hopefully strive for a combined, a united culture instead of multiculturalism, where you have these isolated groups who are going to resent one another, who are going to, it's going to foment anger and resentment. We need to all kind of pull together. That was the whole idea of America to begin with, is that we were all going to be pulling together. So by us allowing this and us even not only condoning it, but really encouraging it, like the left is doing.
Yeah,
they're literally wanting to destroy
those three things. Actually,
a United States.
Exactly.
And it's sickening to me that's so. As much as I dislike Trump, at least he's bringing that and kind of beating that drum and saying, "Look, we gotta fix this." And he made a good point yesterday or the day before in Dallas. He said, "Look, I think it was in Dallas, maybe not, but one of his recent speeches, he said, we're treating illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, better than we're treating our own veterans, and that's got to stop."
Yeah,
and so we got to do something.
In Illinois, a state prison's housed 46,993 inmates. Some 3,700 of those, almost 10%, are illegal immigrants. Almost 10% of Illinois prison population are illegal immigrants. In Arizona, the Department of Corrections show out of 42,000 prisoners, over 10% of them were illegal immigrants. So in Arizona,
does it stand to reason maybe that at least in some of the states, that pretty much 10% of the population might actually be here illegally?
Wow. No, I mean, because they're 3 or 4 times more likely to commit crimes than the rest of the population.
So reduce it by 2/3.
Right.
So that's still
a lot of people.
You're looking at 12 to 15 million people who are here illegally. This is, obviously
that's numbers,
very non-scientific.
That number is pretty common now.
I keep hearing 10 million.
Yeah.
That's the number I keep hearing,
yeah,
but I think it's higher.
It's probably closer to 20 to 30 million, to be honest with you.
Well, that would be almost 10% of the population. So, actually, we're getting closer to 400 million. So, but the point is, there's way too many for us to ignore.
Yeah, there are. In California, there were 128,000 inmates in custody as of August 12th. But the state, which has been criticized for its leniency towards illegal immigrants, no longer keeps track of the citizen status of inmates.
Yeah.
I mean, how nutty is that?
And if you don't keep track, that means that you're not doing your job, and then you need to go. I mean, we need people who are going to do their job. Keep track. It
was over 2 years ago when they did that the last time, and it was as many as 18,000 foreign-born citizens in California state prisons of 133 incarcerated. I mean, 133,000. I mean, this is insane.
And yet they say, "Oh, well, our prisons are overpopulated, and it's because of the private corporations, the private groups wanting to make profit off of the prisons, so they keep building more prisons." Well, a lot of the prisons would be kind of have a lot of empty cells if the illegals were not occupying them, right? So why don't we work on that instead of worrying about building more prisons? We wouldn't have to.
Yep.
Not for a while. And, of course, we need to reduce the amount of nonviolent offenses that end up in prison. But, I mean...
especially the drug laws. The drug laws need to change.
Absolutely. But, I mean, this is a big problem. And, by the way, there's maybe 1% of the population is LGBT in America. 10 times that number are illegal.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Probably, yeah. Probably, not even possibly.
That's insane.
That is insane. I
mean, look at how we've been over backwards to take care of LGBT rights and all this. Are we going to do something similar now and just kowtow to the almost 10% maybe of the population?
Haven't we been doing that?
That's what I'm saying. We have been. We've been bending over backwards. So, you mean for the illegals?
The illegals.
Well, yeah, we're already giving them benefits. They're already getting school,
sanctuary cities, and
free school, or it's all. You know what? I'm going to stop talking because I'm just too angry right now.
318 million is U.S. population today. That's
Oh, I thought it was like 368.
No,
318.
Yeah. So, but I'm telling you, that's a lot of people. And that's a large percentage of the population. If you're getting to 20 to 30 million being illegal,
that's crazy.
It is crazy. All right. Well, I know how apropos. We'll end on a crazy note today. And do want to encourage the listener, remember that the show continues 24/7 at priceofbusiness.com. Plus, the best content here shows up over there at usdatareview.com. Have a great day. Spend it wisely on this station.